Hello everyone, very good morning and welcome to the next session of Master Oops ABAP. In this session, I have set already the agenda. The agenda for the today's session, we are going to discuss the constructor, what is class constructor, constructor hierarchy. We are going to also see polymorphism, overloading and overriding. There are two types. Local class also we are going to see with the help of one example. I will be creating one local class and the two beautiful keywords we are having, load and deferred. However, load has been obsolete, but still sometimes maybe in the previous version of SAP, you might see this keyword. Okay, now it's not required automatically. System and the latest version take care of the load keyword. So that also will be understanding. Fine. So now let's go and start. But before starting, as usual, let's have a quick recap what we have done in our last class, and then we will go ahead and see. So last class we have seen few questions and we were able to give the answer of that question. Then we understood the abstract class. We have seen in the abstract class that here in ABAP, without giving a method as an abstract, also it is possible to make a class as a abstract. However, if you are going to define a method as abstract method, automatically your class is going to become abstract class. Then we have seen the protected keyword. Whenever you are going to use this protected keyword in a class, that class you will be able to instantiate only in the subclass. That means only in the child class. If you're going to use this protected keyword for your methods or attributes or any component, then that particular attributes or methods or events or any component, you will be able to use inside the inherited class only, inside the subclass or child class only. Okay. So also we have seen there are three types of inheritance: single, multiple, and multi-level, right? ABAP supports single and multi-level. Multiple directly does not support. We use the interface in order to get it support. This is just a walk around, right? Then we have seen the difference between interface and abstract class. Very important interview question. From the interview questions point of view, you must know this the difference. And then last, I have shared one link of the YouTube channel where you can go and watch out the UML diagram. Right now, let's go and start with the constructor. What is constructor? What is constructor? If you know about the constructor already, right here in the chat box, what do you understand from the constructor? What do you understand from the constructor? So constructor is basically of two types. Okay, constructor is of two types. First, let me give you the type and then I will define this constructor. One is the instance constructor. One is the instance constructor, and another is the class constructor. Class constructor. This instance constructor, sometimes we also simply call it as a constructor. Okay, so instance constructor or class constructor. This class constructor, the second name is a static constructor. So there are two types of constructor, right? One is this instance and another is the static one. Now let's define this constructor. So constructor is a special method. It's not the normal method. Okay. Constructor is a special method which is going to get called when you access or instantiate, instantiate the class. Okay. When you are going to access or instantiating the class or creating the object, instantiating means creating the object, then we can, then automatically it gets called. Automatically it gets called. So let me write some point over here about the instance constructor, and then we will go and deep dive. Okay. So instance constructor, while creating the object, it gets called every time. So whenever you are going to create the object of a class, this instance constructor method is going to be called every time. Okay, going to be called every time. This, the second one is the class constructor or a static constructor. This gets called only once during the life cycle of a program. Okay, it gets called only once during the life cycle of a program. What do you mean from the life cycle of a program? I will make you understand. What's the use of constructor? What is the use of this constructor? So generally, we use this constructor in order to initialize the variable. Okay, so if you want to initialize some variable, you can use this constructor, or initialize the variable. Or another important, you know, use case of this structure is, let's suppose if you have some thing which need to be performed while creating the object for sure, or if that particular functionality is going to be, very common. For example, like if you want to get the data from any hard coding framework table, and that table data you are going to use throughout the program. So maybe that, for that purpose, if you think that the table data is going to, means in each and every call that table data is going to get used, that you can use, right? So there can be one use case, but generally this is what we use. This is what is the use of initializing the variable. Okay, the constructor is used. Instance constructor, class constructor, right? So now let's go and see into practical how it behaves. Let me log into the system and go and create one class. So going to create one class, ZCL maybe material. Okay, so basic concept you understood about all the things. So I think gradually we can move towards the SAP ABAP objects. Okay, there's some real-time example. So this material we can inherit to the different material type class. This material maybe we can inherit to the ZCL underscore plant, ZCL underscore storage location, right? Multi-level inheritance we can have over there. So it depends on the requirement and situation and how you want to design. Okay, so I will keep it common so that it will be easy to understand. So I'm just going to create one material class over here. Click on this create button, and I think someone has already created. So ZCL OO ABAP demo material, something like that I'm creating. Okay, basically this is ZCL underscore material. In your project you can use this particular naming convention. Okay, so this for all the common functionality for the material, like to get the material detail, to create the material, to update the material, to insert the material, or maybe to change the material, or delete the material, we can use this particular class. So common functionality of the material. So save it and give the package, click on this OK button, and now the method is coming. Just defining few method over here, get material. So I want to get the material, and here label you can give it maybe instance, and the visibility I'm going to give the public, and get material detail. But here my intention is to show you the use of constructor, or how the constructor is going to behave. So let me define one constructor method. So see, for defining the constructor method, it's good practice to use here option you have given, just click on this constructor method and automatically that method is going to get populate. Okay, or you can simply type it over here, constructor. That is also fine. Okay, but this is what I prefer. Click on this constructor method and automatically see constructor method. Constructor method is always going to be the instance method. There are two types of constructor, just we have seen. One is the instance constructor and another is the class constructor, right? So this constructor is the instance constructor, and that the meaning means it is the instance method, and visibility is by default public. Okay, visibility is by default public. Just save it and check the syntax over here, and we can activate this one. Okay, but before activating, let me do let's write some piece of code at least, and then so here just I'm writing that this is constructor. So let's first understand the uh, concept, how it's going to get called, and then maybe in the later classes we are going to see the use of real-time use of the constructor, right? So this is a constructor called inside the class ZCL or ABAP demo material, right? So just I have written this one, and some color 5 I can give. Check the syntax and just putting the breakpoint, hard-coded breakpoint. I'm using it and it's giving me some error. Let's save it first, check the syntax. There is no problem. That means from the syntax perspective, everything is fine. Just need to be activate everything together. So click on this activate, and it got properly activated. Now get detail. Inside the get detail, maybe I'm going to write some code over here. So before writing, let's define some parameter also, or at least the global. So let me put the global attribute as of now. So one attribute I'll be putting the gv underscore matner level public, level instance, and this is the public associated type matner. So matner, the data element I'm using over here, and gv underscore matner is the name of the attribute, and one internal table I'm going to define it to get the list of material and some specific property. That means some specific field I want to get it. So gt underscore mat info, and here instance, and then the public, and here just save it. And this particular table type, let's quickly define it over here. The local types I'm going to define. So in order to define the local types, come over here and you have to define the types. So define the types, begin of ts underscore mat info, and what it's going to have, can you tell me? maybe Matner, type Matner, then mtart, type mtart, and matkl, type matkl. These are three fields I'm getting it over here. Okay, and now end of ts underscore mat underscore info, right? So here you can see pretty printer. So what I did, let me show you once again. In order to define the local type, this is defining am. So one structure I have defined over here, but I want to get the multiple material. It depends on your requirement, how you want to do. If you want to get the material, if you want to get the multiple record, you have to first define the local table type, or you can go into SE11. There you can define the global table type, and that global table type or global structure you can use in your, so the basic ABAP stuff you already know, right? So let's over here types tt underscore. So table type, just I'm defining it over here. Type table of ts underscore mat underscore info, right? So we have defined this particular table type, and you can see that inside the public section, I'm just defining it automatically. You have to define inside the public section. Okay, save it and go back, save this one, check the syntax and activate this one. Okay, got activated, right? GT, and here you have to give that particular, TT underscore what it was, mat info, right? We can verify also. Okay, come here and TT mat info, right? This is the correct TT mat info. TT mat info. So same I'm using, so there is no problem. Just save it. So now this is your internal table because this is the table type, right? And it inside the methods, now I can go and write the code, right? So directly in the global variable, just in order to keep its complexity very low, I'm putting it over here, gt underscore mat info, right? Equals to select, there are three fields, right, which I have given it over there. Select matner. So sorry, this is not permittable, right? Select matner and mtart, then matkl from Amara into table, and already data we have defined. So in new OpenSQL, when you are going to use the ABAP variable, you have to put what up to, let's suppose, the 10 rows. Okay, this is a one thing. This is one thing. So I just want to get all the 10 rows. Okay, so just I'm using the host variable because this is my ABAP variable, and other thing is fine because I'm using the new OpenSQL, right? Comma comma. So this is just the basic ABAP stuff things. And now we have written some piece of code inside the constructor. I have put the breakpoint. Now put it once again, activate, and now, and now I want to test it. Now I want to test it. So I will give you here the quick tips. See, every time you don't have to go and create the program and to test this one, or you have to call. Suppose if we want to just test the program directly from executing this class standalone, also going to work. Okay, just run this class and you can test it. And you can see that when I'm running the class, basically it's calling its constructor. So very first time when you are accessing the class, in fact, it is creating the instance of the class. So if you press F8 over here, it got created the instance of the class. And while creating the instance of the class, you would have realized, that it's calling the constructor method, right? So this is a constructor called inside the class because it's writing the output. If it's not clear, nothing to worry. Let me show you once again. Go back, go back, go back. Okay, not working here. Go to SC24 once again. This is our class. We'll write one small program and there I will make you clear if it's not clear. So demo 3. So this is the day 4. So maybe I will keep 4 and click on this create button, constructor demo. Types is executable. Click on the save button. Here save, click on this OK button. And here, what I want to do, I want to create the instance of the class and I want to get the detail of the material. So in order to get the detail of the material, because that method is the instance method, I have to create the object of the class, right? So new syntax, I'm going to use geo matner equals to the class was this one. Let me copy this, and you know how to create the instance of the class using the new syntax, right? So this is now the object created. And now what I want that I want to call the method get material, right? And once you got the material, I would like to print it once. So cl underscore demo underscore output one utility class. We are having this utility class. This is the standard utility class. This we can use in order to print the output. All right. So gt underscore matinfo, right? So now focus on the concept is more important. Functionality here does not make more sense. Once your concept is clear, you can use this concept in any kind of development, simple development or complex development. Concept is important. Asking the question to you, can you tell me when it's getting created the object over here, is it going to call the constructor or not as per the definition, right? Yes or no in the chat box. It's going to create, it's going to call that particular constructor, right? It's going to call that particular constructor. Very good. Thank you for the answer, and your answer is right. Let me activate this one, activate this, and put the breakpoint over here, and we will see into action. Okay. So pressing F8 over here, and when I'm pressing F8, control is coming over here, right? You can see that this arrow, and here just press F5. Once you will press F5, you can see that your constructor is getting called. That means whenever you are going to create, when you are going to create the object of the class, it's giving you the, what? It's giving you the, it's going to the constructor. It's calling to the constructor. Now it's coming over here and get material. It's getting the material detail, putting into this global attribute 10 records I'm getting, and the 10 record it's going to print over here, right? Till here it's fine. Now the question to you, that again I'm going to instantiate one more, you know again I'm going to create one more object. Okay, again I'm going to create one more object. So just I'm going to comment. Let's focus on the concept first and then we will see. So data go underscore matner 2, another object, equals to, and creating the object, the same syntax I'm going to use. Full stop, pretty printer, check the syntax, activate this one. And now tell me, here it will be going to get called, getting called first time, right? Will it be going to get called that instance constructor second time also? Second, yes or no? Just write here in the chat box. Second times that instance constructor is going to get called. Venkat is telling no. Akash is telling yes. Some people know, some people yes. But let's go and see the definition of the instance constructor. We are telling while creating the object, it gets called every time every time whenever you are going to create the object of a class, it's going to create, it's going to call every time, right? Whenever. So that constructor is what? Instance constructor. Instance constructor gets called every time whenever you create the object of a class. Second time, third time, fourth time, every time it will get called. Let's see into the action. Press F8, first activate it and press F8. So here first time, right? So I'm pressing F5, you can see that first time getting called, right? F5 again, just go back, and here now it will come to the second. This time also, if you see that it's going to call, so every time it is going to get called whenever you are going to instantiate a object, right? Because two times it got called, two times it's printing the output. Okay, so once you are not speaking, please mute from your side. Fine, thank you. So here you got this point, right? Geomatner 2. Now let's go and see it's a the concept of, or maybe before going over there, I will show you the parameterized instance constructor. Okay, parameterized instance constructor. What is the meaning of parameter? Come to the class, go into the change mode, and this constructor, you can define the parameter. See, the definition tells constructor can be used in order to initialize the variable, right? So if you want to initialize the variable with a specific value while creating the object, this parameter you can use. And that's the reason constructor is having only the import parameter, because you have to initialize the value, right? You won't be able to have the export parameter for the constructor. Let's go and see. IM underscore. So whenever I'm creating the object of that material, I want to pass the material number. Okay. I'm underscore material, and over here, Matner default value, if you want, you can give, depends on you. And here you have the two option. Okay. Pass by value and the optional. If you want to make this parameter optional, you can select this one. Okay. Or if you want to mandatory, you can remove this one. This one and got activated now. And what I would like to do, whatever the value I'm getting it from there, I want to initialize this particular attribute ZV underscore Matner inside my instance constructor. So this is how generally we're going to use this constructor. Okay. GV underscore Matner equal to IM underscore Matner. So it got initialized. You won't be able to give the export parameter. Okay, just go back. And for this constructor, let's try to define some another parameter. EV underscore Matner, or something like, some export parameter you want to define it. So when you are defining the constructor, see, the typing method is type. Even you are not getting any option over here for importing, exporting, something like that. By default, it's going to be your import parameter. But if you see some other method, just save it and go back. And here, if you click on this parameter, type, typing, associated type, right? Here, if we see here, you have the importing, exporting, changing, returning, right? You have the three types over here. Now come here and sorry, just go back here in this parameter. If you see that, this importing and all these things is not coming, right? In that this is just the typing method. Okay. So here by default, it is going to be the import parameter. You don't have even option to select, right? So by default, it is going to be import parameter. Is it clear for you what I'm trying to tell? I'm trying to tell constructor is going to have always the import parameter. not more than that any parameter. Okay, for normal method you can define your own parameter from here. You can see that you are getting the option, but there is no option. Why? Because that is going to be always import parameter, right? Good. So now it got activated and come over here, and now tell me, is it going to give me the error? Now the constructor is having the parameter, right? Now the constructor is having the parameter. Because it's having the parameter, what you have to do? You have to give the parameter value, right? You have to give the parameter value. But the thing is that the parameter is optional. So even if you don't pass the value, it will not give you the error, right? But if you make that mandatory, let's suppose if you are going to make that mandatory, then in that case, it will start giving you the error. So let's go and make that parameter mandatory, and I will show you that it will be start giving you the error, right? Come here, and if you check the syntax now, see mandatory parameter, right? So mandatory parameter, how to pass import parameter, you can write over here and pass the value. So any value with the parameter also you can pass, or some at this moment just I'm passing some hard coded value. Okay. Here also you have to pass some hard coded value because now your parameter is what? Mandatory one. Save this one, check the syntax, activate this one, and now if you press F8 and press F5, see the value is coming over here. IM underscore partner is the value which I have passed, gv underscore partner, and this is how I am initializing the variable, and this is how you are also going to do in your real-time project, right? So gv underscore partner, the second object, this is the second object, right? Second object is having the different value, correct? So all those the two object we are having, gv underscore matner 1 and gv underscore matner 2, both the object is having the two different material initialized for their global variable, right? And that you can use for the purpose of fetching the data or for whatever purpose you want to use, right? So you got the parameterized constructor also. The important point over here is to note that the constructor will be having only the import parameter. Okay, constructor can have constructor can have only the import parameter, right? You got this point, only the import parameter. Very important point. Okay. In interview, interviewer will ask that what kind of parameter you can have in a constructor. You have to tell only the import parameter is possible. Okay, good. Till now, is it clear? Are you able to follow me? If you are able to follow, please let me know. And Madhu is asking, earlier example did not have a specific filter in material and was displaying first in materials. Yes, Madhu, you are right. And if you want to put the filter, you can go and put the filter over there. No? So here, my intention is to first teach you the concept. And now if you want to put it like this, you can write the code. If gv underscore matnode is initial, in that case means if you're not passing any value into the matter, then you get this. Otherwise you get a single material detail. Select into table where just put this material is gv matner. So like that we can write the code and it will work it. Got the point? Okay. In child class, if we have constructor, which one will be good? Don't worry, we are going to see the constructor hierarchy in detail, you know. Okay, so like that we can do. And here, however, it's not going to give you the correct output. So what's the error when we escaped? Yes, so here you have to also use this host variable. Activate this one, right? So that material should be properly following your, conversion exit things, and that material should be present. Then only you will be able to get the data. Otherwise, you will not be able to get the data, right? So let's not go into that part, okay? And try to understand the concept. Once you understand the concept, it will become very easy to do any kind of stuff, because you are already master in coding, right? When to use the constructor parameter versus method parameter is specific to import parameter. So this is what I'm doing, right? When you are creating the constructor, if you want to initialize any value, you can pass the value from the program and it will initialize the global attribute, right? So if you want to initialize the global attribute, this is what generally we use for the purpose, this is what the purpose of constructor. Fine, good. Now let's go and see about the class constructor. This is very interesting, class constructor. However, mostly we are going to use this constructor. Okay. Let's click on this class constructor and you will be able to create the class constructor. And what is this class constructor, guys? What is this class constructor? You can see that it's telling the static method. Okay. Focus here. It's telling the static method, right? And it will be public. The visibility you can set differently, but again in visibility also we are having some certain rules. Okay, but let it be like this. Okay. Public. Okay, just save this one. And this class constructor, see here what I have written in the class constructor. I told you it gets called only once during the life cycle of a program. It's going to get called only once during the life cycle of a program. Come over here and in the class constructor, double click, put the breakpoint. Okay, put the breakpoint. Just save this one and maybe no write statement. I will not put any write statement. Just save and activate this one and see here how it's going to behave now. Okay, how it's going to behave now. Here, can you tell me when you are going to run this particular report, first this statement will be executed or this class constructor will be executed? Who will give this answer? Just guess, just guess. So you will get more attention over here, right? Santosh is telling first class constructor will be going to get called. Very good. Constructor when initializing. Fine. Let's see here. I will show you one more important point. I will write and then I will ask to you. Okay. Whenever you load a program, right? Whenever you load a program or any events are getting loaded in the program, events are getting loaded in the program, then your class constructor will be called. Then your class constructor will be called. Then your class constructor will be called by default. So now come here and say, when you will be running this program, what will happen? I'm creating the object of this particular class over here, right? And now you see, before coming the control over here, the control will go to the class constructor. Why? Because this particular statement will be executed by default under which event, right? This particular statement will be executed inside which event? Who will tell? By default, ABAP, right? We all are ABAP here, right? A start of selection. If you don't define anything, it is going to, define first load of program obviously will get called, and then after the start of selection. So let's go and see. Run this one, and you will see that the control has come over here, and the start of selection event is coming over here. Now just press F5, and if you see, because the start of selection event, any event, it is not only the start of selection, the start of selection is there, and after that class constructor is getting called, right? Before going to the next statement, your control is still here. You can see that this arrow is here, your control is still here before. Yeah. So uh, so what I'm trying to make you understand, whenever you are going to create the object, right, in a program, first it will call the class constructor, and class constructor will be called only once during the life cycle of this particular program. Okay, so now let's go and double click over here and press F5, and now it will go to the constructor, right? First it will call the class constructor, and now it will go to the what? Constructor. So see, now it's coming to the constructor. Now F5. Here, can you tell me it will go to the class constructor or not? Program is same, session is same. Will it go to the class constructor or not? Very good, Akash. Akash is telling no. It's not going to, you know, uh, class constructor, but it will go into the constructor method, right? Class constructor will be called only once during the life cycle of the program, but the constructor is going to call every time. So this time you can see that it's calling the constructor. So you got this idea how it's working. Now, now, now let's do one thing. I will show you some interesting stuff about this. So create one more GV underscore mtart material type you want to create, and this I'm going to define as a static attributes. Make it public, okay, and give this mtart as a data element. Just save it over here, check the syntax, activate this one. Now you have to tell me, copy this one. So let me write this particular program. Whenever you load a program or any events are getting loaded in the program, then your class, and here one more point. And if we are accessing the static component of the class in the program, right, then your class constructor will be called first by default. Okay, so here, if you have observed here, it has called what? When the statement has come over here, when the control was come over here, and then when we were creating the object of this, then it was going to the class constructor while creating the instance. Okay, but now what we are doing, just comment this one, and I'm going to, access the component of the class. Come over here and copy this, Control V, and I think I have not activated. It's activated, right? GVMTart, it's public. Also copy this and I want to access that particular, attributes. So GV underscore mtart, this is a static attribute. So I'll have to use this particular symbol to access that particular attribute, save it, and check the syntax, right? So what I'm doing, I'm accessing the static component. See, I'm accessing here the static component. So because this is the static component, what will happen as per the concept I have written it, before writing, before the control coming over here, control will go to the class constructor. Because why? The report will first load the start of selection. and then it will go to the class constructor, then the control will come over here, right? So
Pankaj, one
mhm,
doubt, sorry.
mhm,
So this was the class, right?
mhm,
While executing this program,
mhm.
how it knows the class constructor after start of selection?
Yeah, so this class I am accessing, right?
Yeah, you're accessing with
Mm,
write statement. I'm saying
mm.
how it will be called that static constructor.
How it
Because
will be called
yeah,
static? I am not getting your question.
so here
Uh,
anyway our constructor will call after initiate creating the first object for that particular class, right?
no, here we are not creating any object, right?
Yeah.
Here we are accessing the static component of this class.
Okay.
So what I'm telling that whenever you are accessing any static component of a class, okay, then first the class constructor will be called while loading the program. While loading the program, okay, while loading the program, first class constructor will be called, and then this value will be printed. Let me first show you. And still, if you'll be having the doubt, we can discuss. Okay, so just press F8, and you will see that first the class constructor is getting loaded. And now if you come over here and see, now it will be printing you the value, but there is no value in this, so there will be no print, nothing will happen. Okay, but the what I'm trying to tell you, the concept over here, whenever you are accessing the static component, then first the class constructor will be called. After that, the particular statement will be called where you are accessing the static component. Okay, this is one point. Let me make you more clear. If you remove that and if you uncomment this particular, here I'm creating the object, right? Here it will be not having any that such case, because what I'm doing, I'm just creating the object, I'm not accessing any static component. So in this case, first the control will come over here and then it will go to the class constructor, right? So if you uh, put the breakpoint over here and press F8, so first where the control will come, here the control will come, press F8, right? You can see that first the control is coming over here, and when it will be instantiating, it will be going first to the class constructor, see, to the class constructor, and then it will go to the obviously constructor, right? Constructor. So did you understand what I'm trying to tell you over here? Just right here in the chat box if you are able to follow me, right? Oscar, yeah, gv underscore mtart is the so is it okay for you now?
Sir, for every event, a class constructor will be called, sir.
No, no, no. Every time, no. Very first time during the life cycle of a program, very first time, it's going to get called. If it is a static component, if you are accessing, okay, if you are accessing any static component, then before loading the program and when your event is loading, during that time it is going to get called, and only one time, in any one of the event.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Now, I
person.
have a question. I have a question. If,
Yeah.
for example, I would like to assign a value to the GV mat,
Mhm,
and GV mat is part of the. I didn't not yet
mhm,
initiate the class itself,
mhm,
and also the class construction is initiated. But
mhm.
how I can qualify that MG thought? The demo material is not instantiated at that time. There is no object at that time. The object will be treated at the new, but I would like to affect a variable
Uh,
to that.
because see, this is the static attribute. So for this static attribute, let's suppose if if you want to put the value over here for that gv underscore mtart, and
I
that's
have to
the
put it there. Okay.
You can put it over here, maybe ROH, right?
Yeah. But you cannot put it in the, if you write a program, you
Uh.
cannot put it in the program. In the program, it has to be part of the class constructor.
Right. Because see, whenever you are accessing the static component, right, without instantiating it, it will not make sense to directly print. And that's the reason it first called the class constructor, and then after it will go to the statement, right? So that if some value is there, it will print. Getting the point,
Yeah.
right?
No, I'm getting it's logic that way. I understand.
Yeah. So it's just the means logically also, if you will think directly, if you are accessing component, a static component of a class, it will not be having any value, right? So better, that's the reason it first goes to the class constructor, and there it access, and then the control comes over here. So again, I'm repeating, whenever you are accessing any static component of a class, then first the class constructor will be called while loading the event. Okay, while loading the event. Fine. Now uh now one more important point. Okay, one more important point. Let's suppose if I'm going to put this statement inside a subroutine. So perform get mat type, something like that, and just double click over here, click on the CS button. In the main program itself, I'm writing this and put it over here. Instead of get mat type, print mat type, maybe I can write. Okay, it will make more sense. Print mat type and print mat type. So now if you check the syntax, there is no problem. Now can you tell me how the flow is going to be? And this is I'm going to comment. Okay, this is I'm going to comment. This is I'm going to comment. So how the control will, your start of selection event will be loaded, but this particular statement is there inside the subroutine, right? Inside the subroutine. So what will happen in this case, because it is there inside in subroutine, not inside the main program. Okay, not inside the main program. First the control will come over here. Okay, and when it will access the subroutine, and it will realize, okay, here again the static component is getting accessed, it will call the class constructor. So in this particular scenario, first the perform will be called, right? Then the control will come over here, and before accessing the static component, your class constructor will be called. So this is how your system program has been designed. Okay, now press F8, and you can see that the control has come to the report, and here this time here. And now tell me where it will go, where it will go, as the concept we are discussing, where it will go. Right, very good.
The class
It will,
constructor.
very good, it will go to the class constructor. So I'm just going to press F5, and you can see that the class constructor, the control is going before loading the print material type, right? So this is how class constructor behaves. Okay, so these two important points, just remember it. And even if you don't remember, whenever you are using, do the experiment at the time, because everything not possible to remember every time. Okay, so nothing to worry. Once you understand the concept, at least you got the idea. Activate once, activate once. Now let's go and jump into the topic called constructor hierarchy. But before going to the constructor hierarchy, let me tell you the difference over here between the normal method and the special method. Normal method means here we are having, this is the normal method. Okay, this get material is the normal method. This constructor and class constructor will be falling under the special method. So here this is the normal method. here the special method. Inside the special method you have constructor and class constructor, right? Your normal method can be public, protected, or private. Your constructor method depends on the class visibility. Okay, so if your class is public, your constructor also has to be public. Okay, if your class is protected, then your constructor can be public or protected, anything, cannot be private. If your class is private, then you can make your constructor anything, public, protected, or private. So depends on your class visibility. Class constructor, it is always public. Your class constructor is going to be always public. Should be called explicitly. You can call your normal method explicitly. It will be called implicitly. You don't have to, call constructor or something like that. You have to write whenever you are going to instantiate the class, then your constructor will be called, and the class constructor, we understood the rule of getting called the class constructor, right? Now normal method, it can be called many number of times. Constructor, it can be called only once when the first time object is created, right? So whenever you are going to create the object, very first time it will get, so many object you will be creating, many times this constructor will be created. But the class constructor only once during the lifetime of a program. Okay, can contain any types of parameters, importing, exporting, changing, returning, anything. In constructor, you will be having only the import parameter. In the class constructor, no parameter at all is possible. For class constructor, you won't be able to define any sort of parameter. Normal method, its name can be anything. Constructor will be always constructor, and the class constructor name will be always class underscore constructor, because it's the special method, right? And here what I have written, rule for the static constructor, already I have written it over here, right? The same rule, it's, you can go to, right? That's why subroutine. And even the module, in the module pool programming, if you have written inside some module, that particular piece of code where you are accessing the static component, before loading the module, that class constructor will be called. That's what the same as the subroutine. So whatever we have seen, those only I have written it over here. Okay, so rule of inheritance. Now what we are going to see, we are going to see the constructor hierarchy. So let's go and create the inheritance for this particular material. So I'm going to inherit this particular class into a class called plant. My plant is inheriting my material class. My plant class is inheriting my material class. Okay, so click on this create button, and here plant detail, just save this one and save this one and save this one. And now click on this, go to the properties and inherit that material class, press enter. Okay, go to the methods, click on the save button, and here you can see that constructor and get material is coming from your super class. Double click on the super class, and you can see that in the super class you are having three methods: class constructor, constructor, and get material, right? Now if you go back, sorry, go to the plant, go to the method. Here, what are the methods it's inheriting? Constructor and get material, normal method, and from the special method only constructor. Class constructor is not getting inherited, right? So here I will be just putting it down, class constructor will not be inherited, right? Inherited. Another point, will you be able to redefine this constructor over here in the subclass? Go into the change mode, right, and try to redefine. Click on this redefine. What it's telling, you cannot redefine the constructor. So redefinition of the constructor is not possible. But before writing this, at least you are able to see this constructor, right? So constructor is getting inherited. Constructor is getting inherited, but redefinition is not allowed for the same constructor. It will be getting inherited, but it is not allowed. So if you want to define your own constructor over here, will it be allowed? Let's go and give a try. It will be allowed. Press enter and you can see that it's getting allowed. So note down this point also, right? So why I'm writing, because it will make you will be able to remember for longer. If I simply tell and don't write over here, already I have written in the PPT, but again I'm writing so that you will be having more focus over here. The more you are going to give the time, the more your concept will become clear and you will be more get involved into this sort of programming. Okay, so you can define your own constructor inside the subclass, right? This is possible, right? In real time also we are able to see, right? Now let's suppose if you don't have your own constructor over here. I'm asking some question, okay? And if you are trying to instantiate this particular class, this plant class, okay, will it call the constructor of the superclass? Who will tell? Did you get my question? Very good. Akash is telling yes. Answer is correct. So when you are going to instantiate this class, it's going to call the constructor of your superclass. Come over here, Control V, and now data geo underscore plant. So an object of plant I'm creating over here, and new full stop. Hit enter, check the syntax. What's the problem? No value was passed to the mandatory. See, one mandatory parameter is there, the material, right? So it's asking to pass me the mandatory parameter. Check the syntax, activate this one, and we can put the breakpoint. Now, tell me the control, tell me the flow, how it's going to have the flow. How it's going to have the flow. Let me simplify this first. Double click over here, go to this methods, and here you have the constructor. Removing constructor as of now, okay? Again, I will put, remove this. So in the super class, currently you are having the constructor only and the get material, okay? And regenerate. It's a good practice to regenerate your class after doing some significant changes, right? Here into the methods, once again, I'm going to activate. Now you tell me how it's going to happen. How it's going to happen. It will call the constructor of the superclass, right? In the plant class, constructor is there, but you are not able to define, right? You are not able to define. So when you are creating the instance of the plant, it's going to call the constructor of the superclass. Why? Because if you double click over here, it will tell that this method is not implemented in this, is implemented in this material class, not implemented in the plant class. So it will take you over there. And if you click on this, okay, it will take you over there. So control will be also like that only, because this constructor is not defined over here, right? It will take you to the parent class, to the super class. So press F8, control will come currently over here. Now, if you press F5, your constructor from the super class, that is the material, getting called. Hope it's clear for everyone and you are able to understand. Now the important point is going to come. Okay, constructor, I'm going to define my own constructor. This you will not be able to redefine. Okay, remember this, you will not be able to redefine, but you can give your own constructor name, or you can click on this constructor. Just simply click on this constructor, and what you will be able to do that automatically your own constructor will be created and the previous constructor will be gone. Okay, this is what it will happen. So that's fine, there is no problem. If you want to create your own constructor, the inherited constructor will be gone, and that is fine, there is no issue with that. Come over here in the source code and let's so you can see that I am underscore Matner is automatically coming as an import parameter, right? And here uh here how you can do, let me put same gv underscore Matner, right? Or maybe here I'm going to do something different. Okay, so something different, how we can let's write some dummy code, write uh this is plant constructor, this is plant constructor, color 4, just simply I'm giving, so pretty painter, save this one, and now here also I'll put the breakpoint, save it and activate this one, activate, go back and activate everything together, then it will allow us to activate. Some error is there, let's see what's the error. The constructor method must call the constructor. Yeah, see here, this is one another catch. Okay, what actually happens whenever you are creating a constructor, this constructor method must have anywhere the call to the superclass. So generally we put in beginning. Okay, generally we put in beginning, means on top. So first you will be calling the method of the superclass. So this is one rule, and this is going to make sense. This rule is actually this a particular mandatory stuff is the good if you think logically. Okay, now if you check the syntax, there is no problem, but one problem, we have to pass this mandatory parameter, right? So it we're having ev underscore, and maybe here we can pass some value. So here also gv underscore Matner equals to am underscore Matner full stop, and this gv underscore Matner we can pass, right? Pretty painter, check the syntax, and now the in the constructor method, instance attributes, instance methods, or me can be accessed only after the constructor of the superclass is called. Okay, okay, there is some limitation, so that's why generally we use on the top, because here I'm accessing the me variable, so whenever you are accessing the me, the gv underscore Matner is what? The gv underscore Matner is nothing but me gv underscore Matner, right? And whenever you are having the me attributes getting used, what you have to do before that, you have to call the super constructor. So that is what it's telling, that is what it's telling. So am underscore Matner, I'm writing it over here. But let's suppose if you don't have this one, if you don't have this me, then this super call you can put it here also, right? After this write statement, you check the syntax, there is no problem, right? But follow as a best practice. Okay, put in the top, so that's such kind of error if you are accessing some global variable. Global variable is by default your part of the me instance, right? Me will always refer to the current instance of the current class. So activate this one, and got activated. Now just go back, and what we are going to do, we are going to call the this plant. So how it's going to happen then? This time it will call which constructor first? This time it will call which constructor first? Tell me.
Super constructor.
This time it will call the subclass constructor, plant constructor, right? Because the plant constructor is now defined. Press F5 and you can see that the plant constructor is getting called. Obviously here we are having the call to the super constructor, so it will go to the super, and then the control is coming like this, right? So in this scenario, first the plant constructor will be called, right? And then the super constructor will be called. Why printing first this one? Because the code is written like this: super write statement getting called, and here the plant. But the call you understood, first the plant constructor call will get called, and then the material constructor will be getting called. Hope it's clear for everyone, right? Hope it's clear for everyone. Okay.
Just have a question. Is it
Yeah.
like should we have only one constructor in the class, or can we have two constructors also, more than one?
No, only one constructor will be having a class.
So at any cost, if we call the, I mean, if we have
See,
a constructor
so
for the base
in
class,
in in one class, one instance constructor and one class constructor you can have, but more than one class instructor or more than one instance constructor is not possible. Yeah, now go ahead. Yeah.
but when we derive from the super class, that constructor will always be merged with the child class constructor, right?
No, that's where you have seen whenever I'm redefining, that is getting gone. That is not there, right? If you see here, that is
Okay,
not there. Only one constructor is there, right?
got it. Got it. Thank
But you
You're
are
welcome.
still calling the superclass constructor, right? By using the
Mm.
super keyword. Is it
Mhm.
mandatory to
That's the
call?
mandatory. Yes, that's the mandatory. You always have to call the super constructor, otherwise it will not allow. You must have seen any constructor, you go and check which is inherited, you know, it will be certainly there, the super call over there. If not here, somewhere else will be there, but it will be there. But this is the best practice to put on the top. Fine. Now, some more interesting stuff. Come here in these slides, and I'm going to give you the scenario. You have to keep your chat box open and you have to give this answer. You have to have the full focus. But before asking the question, let me define the class constructor once again into this. Go to the methods, and here I'm going to put once again the class constructor. Inside the class constructor, I will put only the breakpoint so that I can show you. Save it, activate it, and just go back. So inside the class constructor also I have put the breakpoint. In this constructor also I have put the breakpoint. I'm just commenting this one just to make it simple. This also I'm just commenting. Just you have to focus, how the flow is there. And now go back, and here go to these methods. Here you are having the get material and constructor. Here also we have to put the breakpoint, already it's there. I'm commenting this. Go back, and get material is not required. Okay, and here also I'm defining one class constructor. Okay, so in subclass also I can have my own class constructor, right? And here also I'll be putting the breakpoint. Save it and activate this one. So in class constructor, you can see that super call is not required, right? Now in constructor, you must have to have the super call to the constructor. In class constructor, super call is not required, right? Now I'm going to give you some scenario and you have to give the answer. Keep your chat box open and give the answer which I'm asking. The scenario one, what you are having, that scenario one or case one. So in case one, what you have, that your constructor and class constructor is defined in the super class. In the subclass, your constructor is only defined, but not the class constructor. How the flow will happen, right? So first, this flow already I have seen. Okay. So this flow already I have shown you just now. Just right here in the chat box, what do you think? Okay. So first, your this class constructor is going to get called. Okay. First class constructor will be called, then your constructor 3 will be called, that means 3, and then 1. Let me verify this. Okay, so what I have written, first second will be called, second is this one, class constructor, then third, this constructor will be called, and then this material constructor will be called. Let's go and check it. So the program where we have written, go to the program quickly, come here, come here, come here. This is the program, and this is fine. So normal scenario we are taking, we are taking the normal scenario. Okay, so We are removing the subroutine and the event related stuff. We are removing that event related stuff and all, in normal scenario, when you are not accessing the static component. There can be again two scenario, right? When you are not accessing the static component and when you are accessing the static component. So this scenario, you just assume we are talking about when we are not accessing the static component, we are creating the object of the instance, then how it's going to behave. Okay, come here and press F8. So control will come over here because I'm going to create the instance. Now you have to tell me where it will go. Where it will go.
Last concept.
It will go to this is the current scenario is this one, because everywhere here also constructor I have defined, here also I have class constructor defined, here also the constructor I have defined, here also class, everywhere I have defined the class constructor. So you have the this scenario. Basically this scenario, if you want to see this scenario, I have to remove this class constructor. So let me do this, let me do this one. Let me do this. It will not take more time. Just give me a moment and go back here. Class constructor, it's there in the plant. Just remove this from here. Save it and activate this one. Yeah, now the first scenario set up in the system, and let's see it how it goes. Come here and press F8. So now it will go to the super constructor, right? Press F5 and you will see that it's going into the material super constructor first. F5 again, and now where it will go? Where it will go? Tell me. This constructor, right? The plant constructor. And then because the super constructor you must have to give, so ultimately it has to go to the super constructor, right? Because that is the mandatory part. So the first you verified this control, how it is going to be there. Now based upon now the constructor, this, so actually this scenario was this scenario, right? The one which we have seen constructor 3 in here also in the child class also this constructor was defined, right? This constructor, let's suppose you have not defined the constructor, so I'm going to remove this constructor at all from here. Remove this from here and just save it and activate this. So in this case what will happen? You tell me what will happen now. In in plant you don't have constructor, it is just inherited constructors. Maybe I will put into this, it is just inherited constructor. So when you are going to create the instance of this material ROH material, or maybe here I can put the plant for your better understanding, because this plant is inheriting from this. So when you are going to create the instance of this plant, what will happen? Tell me. It will first go and hit these hit these two. Yes, it will hit these two, and then which one it will hit? This constructor is not implemented, so obviously it will go and hit this one, right? 2 and 1. Quickly I will show you. So it will get verified. Press I have defined or I have activated or not. Yeah, it's activated, right? Come here, press F8, and directly it will go to the class constructor, right? So press F5, you can see that class constructor, and then second time it will go to only constructor of the super class. Constructor I think I have not activated, right? No, it's fine. This is the super class, but material is our super class, right? Material is our super class, so it's coming over here, so it's okay. Plant is our subclass. It will not go into the plant class because constructor is not there activated, right? Not redefined, and that's why it will come outside. Fine. The third this third scenario, you have to give the answer based upon the understanding. You have built it over here, right here in the chat box for the last. Just put the sequence how it's going to be there. You have defined constructor also. You have defined class constructor also. Everywhere, both the places. Okay, so just keep on writing your answer. Meanwhile, I'm going to I will keep this PPT open, and what I will do that Meanwhile, I will go to the system and put those constructor and class constructor both. Meanwhile, you think and give the answer. Okay. So I'm done. Class constructor here. Breakpoint, just save it and I hope my PPT is visible. I've stopped sharing my screen. Means I've just put on hold my screen, and in backend, I'm just creating those class constructor and constructor. Okay, just give the answer. Think and give. So I believe now you have written your answer, and let me give you my answer over here. Okay, started resuming over here, and here actually what will happen, it will call to the 2 first, right? And just verify your answer if it is right. Then it will go and call to this 4 second class constructor, and then it will go and call to this 3. Okay, and then it will go and call to this 1. If your answer is 2 4 3 1, then your answer is correct. Let's go and verify this one. Go to AC30. Already I have put in the plant this class constructor and constructor just now when you were thinking on the answer. Now go to the AC38 where we are writing the program. Here we have AC38 open, and now try to run this one. Okay, press F5 and you will see that it is calling the class constructor first, right? Again, go back and you can see that it's now calling the plant class constructor. Okay, now it will call the constructor of the plant again, constructor of the plant, and now it will go and call, because super will be must writing over there, it will call to the plant constructor. Hope you understood. With this, I'm done for the today's class, and in tomorrow class we are going to see about the this topic is left, this local class. First we are going to see the polymorphism, very important concept, local class, then load and deferred keyword. Yeah, so today let's stop over here, and tomorrow we are going to see very important topic, must attend class. If you have any question, go ahead and ask from the start.
Pancas, please, can you go to the PowerPoint page 34?
34, yes.
Yes. In the constructor, what is say? This depends on the class visibility.
Sorry?
It is no, I couldn't read very well this. What this say?
Which one?
In the constructor, special method constructor.
This one, right?
Yes.
This you are not able to read.
Okay, so this depends on the class visibility. Can you explain me this a little bit?
Yeah, sure. This PPT, it will be shared.
Okay.
This PDF will be shared. Okay.
Okay.
You can take the printout if you want. You can take the screenshot. Okay. Yeah. And you have to do some experiment. There are so many things. You start doing the experiment in object-oriented ABAP in order to have the concept clear. This is the one thing which I would highly recommend. Apart from that, if you have any question, feel free to ask, or else we can now stop our session over here.
Yeah, I have a question on the last one, on the slide 37.
Yes.
Yeah. Why he, in the beginning, myself, I thought he will go to the class constructor 4, because the same way on, but you said he goes to 2, then 3. Right. Why he went to 3, he didn't go to 1, if that's the case?
So this is how it is defined, this is how the system program, this is the standard behavior, the expert or the design thinker. See, this object oriented is a methodology, how the concept has been defined. They have defined based upon, if you think logically, it will make sense to call the class constructor of the first super class.
Yeah.
Let's suppose if you have some static variable, put it over there in the super class. So obviously that should be first get populated, right? And then it is supposed to be, if something or some logic is there, then it should be, because that is the static, right? Constructor is what? We have the static constructor. It is not the instance. If it is the instance, then this is fine, right? And again, in instance also, like, we must have to call the super constructor. This is also making sense. Why it is making sense? Because constructor is for the purpose of initializing the variable, right? So you might have written the code in super constructor also to initialize some variable. So it's a very good practice, and that good practice, to make it mandatory, SAP has given this, not SAP, because this is everywhere in all the programming language, this concept is there. You must have to call the super constructor in your constructor method before accessing the me instances. Me means its own instances. Okay.
Pankaj, I have
Hmm.
one question. Like, if you have a parameter which for the class constructor and the super class, and
See,
also for the
for class constructor, you won't be having any parameter. Okay.
okay.
Only for the constructor you can define the parameter, and that also only importing parameter.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Anything, anyone? I think we are good to.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending the session, and I believe I
Uh,
have given the answer for everyone. If you still
Yeah, Pankaj, I have last one question. It is not related to SAP. So actually, I'm trying to installing my SAP GUI. So I'm facing some issue. Actually, when I was downloaded through the document, I was downloaded that I was not able to installing the GUI. Can I get that help on that one?
Yeah, sure, you will be getting the help. Did you put this query on the chat box in that particular group? We
No,
have
actually, I did not get a chance to post in the chat.
you just post it
So
over there, because they're the technical people who will be helping you to install this SAP GUI and all. Okay.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they
I'll
will
put
be
on that.
helping you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.